The Carter family had always dreamt of a new beginning. Tired of the fast-paced city life, they decided to leave it all behind and move into a charming, old Victorian mansion nestled in the countryside. The house was a true architectural marvel, its towering spires and ornate, Gothic features enchanting anyone who set eyes on it. It was as if the house had whispered secrets of a bygone era to the wind, luring the unsuspecting Carters into its sinister embrace. As they stepped across the threshold, a chill ran down their spines, but they dismissed it as the usual nerves associated with moving. The Carters were blissfully unaware of the malevolent presence that resided within the mansion's walls, a vengeful spirit that had been trapped in the house for centuries. The family consisted of John and Sarah Carter, their teenage children, Emma and James, and their beloved golden retriever, Max. Their excitement at this new adventure overshadowed any reservations they might have had, and they began the process of settling into their new home. It was a grand house with endless rooms, hidden corners, and secrets waiting to be discovered. The haunting experiences started subtly. Late at night, John would hear faint whispers that seemed to echo from the walls. Sarah often saw strange shadows darting around corners, and Max would growl and bark at invisible entities. Emma and James felt like they were being watched, their dreams invaded by vivid nightmares. They attributed these odd occurrences to the house's age, dismissing them as mere coincidences. However, as days turned into weeks, the paranormal events grew more intense and unsettling. The whispers that John heard at night grew louder, evolving into ominous, incomprehensible murmurs. The shadows that Sarah saw took on more definite shapes, resembling figures from a bygone era. Max's behavior became increasingly erratic, as he cowered in fear, growling at unseen terrors. One evening, as Sarah was alone in the kitchen preparing dinner, she felt a cold hand brush against her shoulder. She turned around, expecting to see one of her children playing a prank, but the kitchen was empty. The handprint on her shoulder remained, a pale and icy reminder of the spectral touch. Emma and James, meanwhile, experienced the most unsettling of all. They began seeing the apparition of a young girl, dressed in tattered, old-fashioned clothing, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. The ghostly girl would stand at the foot of their beds, her presence a chilling reminder that something was terribly wrong with their new home. The family's once harmonious existence quickly began to unravel. Sleepless nights, cold spots, and the constant feeling of being watched took their toll. They decided to seek help, calling in paranormal investigators who spent nights in the mansion with their equipment, trying to document the strange occurrences. Their findings were chilling, as they recorded voices, shadowy figures, and strange temperature fluctuations throughout the house. Desperation and fear gnawed at the Carters, pushing them to the brink of sanity. Max's once playful demeanor had given way to a constant state of distress, and their children were no longer the carefree teenagers they once were. The ghostly girl who Emma and James had named Eliza appeared more frequently and with increasing hostility. She would glide through the walls, her hollow eyes never leaving the siblings. One fateful night, as a thunderstorm raged outside, the haunting reached its climax. The mansion came alive with a cacophony of voices, all whispering incoherent phrases, and shadowy figures danced menacingly throughout the corridors. Emma and James, overwhelmed by fear, decided to confront Eliza. They sat in the living room, their hearts pounding, and called out to her. "Eliza, what do you want from us?" Emma whispered, her voice quivering. The temperature dropped, and the room grew colder as Eliza materialized before them. Her eyes bore into their souls, and her voice, though faint, sent shivers down their spines. "I seek justice," she murmured. Eliza's story unfolded, revealing the grim truth about the mansion. She had once been a servant in the house, tormented and abused by the ruthless master of the estate, a man named Jonathan Sinclair. Eliza's life had ended tragically, as she fell victim to a malicious act by Sinclair, who had thrown her down the grand staircase, ending her young life. Her spirit, bound by vengeance and unresolved pain, had lingered in the house for centuries, trapped in the cycle of her torment. The Carters, now aware of the source of the haunting, resolved to help Eliza find the justice and peace she sought. They researched the history of the mansion and discovered old records of Eliza's existence. Armed with this information, they contacted a local historian who unearthed the long-forgotten story of Eliza's tragic end. The historian's findings helped the family piece together a plan. They decided to organize a memorial service for Eliza, inviting the townsfolk and creating a grave for her in the mansion's garden. It was a bittersweet ceremony, with the townspeople acknowledging the injustices Eliza had suffered and expressing their condolences. As the memorial concluded, the house seemed to sigh in relief. The malevolent presence that had plagued the Carters began to dissipate, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. Emma and James watched with tears in their eyes as Eliza's apparition slowly faded away, her tormented spirit finding solace in the acknowledgement of her suffering. In the days that followed, the Victorian mansion no longer whispered secrets to the wind but instead bore witness to the hope, courage, and compassion of the Carter family. The haunting had come to an end, and the family began to rebuild their lives, free from the vengeful grip of Eliza's spirit. They renovated the house, infusing it with love and care, and it no longer felt like a place of dread. Max, who had suffered alongside the family, once again wagged his tail, and Emma and James could sleep soundly without the haunting presence of Eliza. The Carter family's harrowing experiences in the old Victorian mansion would forever remain etched in their memories, a testament to the power of compassion and the ability to bring peace to even the most malevolent of spirits. Eliza's story was no longer one of vengeance but of redemption, and her spirit had finally found the rest it had longed for.